And all I have to say is, drizzle, drizzle.
Oh, yeah? Well, me and the Lord, we got an understanding. We're on a mission from God.
They shouldn't have given you Ashy Bloke's YouTube.
Cursed be the ground for our sake. Both thorns and thistles it shall bring forth for us. For out of the ground we were taken, for the dust we are. And to the dust we shall return.
Life's tough. Get a helmet, man.
All right, good people. All my Dusty Jermaines, my Ashy Jeffries, and my Dirty Foot Jose's. Okay, back in the building. Something a little bit more serious. I said I was actually going to do this and about silver because I think it's important. It's more somber and than the normal BFF. BFF is sort of like our comedy relief right about now. But thing is, this is probably far more serious than BFF right now. Hopefully, it doesn't get more serious than it already is. Hopefully, they can kind of come to some type of agreement without some severe pain. But who knows what's going to happen in the future? So we're going to talk about this because this is an ongoing thing. We've been talking about this since December. Okay, it's kind of been happening in the background, and I see forces on both sides weighing in on this agenda. In fact, the World Economic Forum, this is the quiet part they didn't say out loud. They hinted at it. They've been hinting at it, but this is something they don't want to say out loud because they don't want to speak it into existence and make it worse. But we're going to dive into it because that's what we do, okay? And see who's here, okay? The unwelcome party, batting first, okay? He's in the starting lineup, man. Going to get us a leadoff hit. Gundam batting second, move the runner along. Free agent Triple OG batting third. Okay. Uh-oh, Turtle Bitcoin. Turtle Bitcoin. Uh, batting cleanup. He's probably will enjoy this one. Okay. He probably will enjoy this particular. Turtle Bitcoin likes this kind of financial talk, so he'll probably enjoy this. Um, Kevin, what's going on? Shannon Moore, what's going on? Lavers, what's happening? Shannon Green, what's going on? Ahmed, no fear. Jesse, what's happening? A6, it's a bird, it's a plane. Nah, man, it's BGS doing his Superman thing. Like Neo, huh? Okay, Neo doing his Superman thing. Okay. Indigo, what's going on? Hurricane Ja, what's happening? DJ Scan, what's going on? Kinsey and Red, Brooklyn's finest, what's going on? Naima, what's happening? Michael Turner, what's going on? Fernando's, Kelvin, Michael 0007, what's going on? Just being jazzy, okay. Jazzy, are you a male or female? Eddie, what's up, Eddie? Oh, you got it on the replay. Yes, it's going to be interesting. I'm doing I'm whole week I'm doing a WEF on that channel. So today I'm probably going to do Scott Bessent, since he's the economic architect right now of the United States. Michael, what's happening? Barry, what's going on? Beto, Will AR, what's going on? Sliding in for another session on my Dusty Silver Stackers. Yep. Yep. Keep stacking. Okay. Donald, what's happening? AB, what's going on? Silver price 11. I wish it was 11.43. Is that where you bought it at? Okay. Gundam, what's going on? H&F, what's going on? Oh, 117. Yeah. Okay. That's better. Prince, what's going on, Mr. Coakley? My target for silver, I might pull it up later. My target for silver in the near term is 130. Dennis, what's going on? Chaz, what's happening? Michael, what's going on? Martin, what's going on? I've been studying Octane, so I binged Insecure Season 1 this week. Post Red Pill, I'm seeing a great show. I get it now. I'm not triggered at all. It must be I must be coming out of the rage stage. Probably are. Will R, what's going on? J-Man. Babu, what's going on? Consistent L, what's going on? Kelvin. Neely, what's going on? The Watcher, what's happening? Champion Chuck, what's happening? Black Toxic, what's going on? Waffle Weave. Okay, I'll be doing the art of the replay. Okay, heard that. Enigma, what's going on? Martin just says, going through divorce, I do envy Lawrence in the last scene of season 1. Give me a Tasha right now. LOL. Yeah, they call Lawrence a goat because of the last scene. Let's see. For the WF 38 trillion debt vid, brilliant coverage. Appreciate you. Michael, what's going on? Sahudeen, what's going on? It could possibly go, man. It depends. If it gets to 400 by year's end, man. You have a meltdown. You have a meltdown in the banking system. I don't think it'll get that high, but if it does by year's end, and that in that short period of time, then they're gonna have some emergency banking and monetary devices that will be triggered. okay? And I'm going to show you the first one coming up right after I get into it, okay? Because this harkens back to Nixon. Tao, what's going on? Mark Bryant, what's going on? O'Bill, what's going on? Poor folks are not paying attention to this because it is. Some people are warning, but most people are afraid to touch this is because it is very negative, and people are afraid of being wrong. Since I got nothing to lose, I'm not afraid of being wrong. UK Minister Keir Starmer has arrived at Beijing with 60 top executives from HBC, GSK, Jaguar, Land Rover, Airbus, and oh, is this surrender? No, I don't think it's surrender. I think it's a negotiation. I think I think because Trump basically threw Europe under the bus at the World Economic Forum. In my opinion, Trump threw Europe under the bus. And so Europe's got no place else to go. So there's only two places to go, either with the BRICS or with the West, right? And if Trump is taking America private and getting away from their global extensions, then Europe has no place else to go. So I would say that they're trying to negotiate their surrender. So we'll see, man, what it is. There's a lot of stuff that's going on in the background. Anyhow, let us get started. I want to start with this, okay, because this is the last time this particular thing happened, okay? The last time we're in this, in my opinion, in this particular place, okay, was this in '71, okay? Pimp God, what's up, man? I traded in only 50 ounces of silver for an ounce of gold over 6 months ago. I took 100 ounces to make the same. It took 100 ounces to make the same trade. Yeah. I wouldn't be trading in this environment. I'd be buying instead of trading because it's going to be so uneven. And really, what's happening is your dollar is slipping so fast. It's not that gold or silver is worth less, more or less, or anything else like that. In fact, if I were a betting man, just on the gut feel, I would be I would lean towards silver more because silver is probably more under pressure right now. Would the global South accept the primary participants in the former Western power? I don't know. We don't know. We have no idea. So this is just the beginning. It's like when we started COVID, right? We have a lot of questions and very few answers right now, and really nobody knows. Okay, that's the problem. If the people in charge actually knew what they were doing, then I'd feel more confident, but they don't. Okay, these are the gates going up. These are the walls going up, and nobody knows what's going to happen in between. But this is Nixon in 1971 taking us off the gold standard.
I have directed Secretary Connally to suspend temporarily the convertibility of the dollar into gold or other reserve assets, except in amounts and conditions determined to be in the interest of monetary stability and in the best interest of the United States. In full cooperation with the International Monetary Fund and those who trade with us, we will press for the necessary reforms to set up an urgently needed new international monetary system. Stability and equal treatment is in everybody's best interest. I am determined that the American dollar must never again be a hostage in the hands of international speculators. I'm taking one further step to protect the dollar, to improve our balance of payments, and to increase jobs for Americans. As a temporary measure, I am today imposing an additional tax of 10% on goods imported into the United States. This is a better solution for international trade than direct controls on the amount of imports. This import tax is a temporary action. It isn't directed against any other country. It's an action to make certain that American products will not be at a disadvantage because of unfair exchange rates. When the unfair treatment is ended, the import tax will end as well.
Doesn't he sound a lot like Trump today with the tariffs? Okay. Now this was actually sent to me. This one here was actually sent to me about China doing a rug pull. Okay, so we're gonna play this one next. Okay, this is Scott Bilyeu. Okay, but yesterday talked about the
entire financial
about the rug pull or the run on gold. Okay, run on silver. Okay, much like France made a run on gold, which is probably why they tried to assassinate him back in the 60s. Okay, France made a run on gold and on British gold, and also they made a run on American gold, and to try to convert the dollars back to gold. And that's why Nixon took the dollar off the gold system and went to a pure fiat, which we've been in since '71. And this is China doing something very similar for a different reason. Okay. Now we can speculate why China's doing it, but the fact is they're doing it, and I suspect that and we're going to show this later on. The Asian guy John is an avatar for Chinese interest. I don't think the Asian guy John are individuals. I really don't, in my personal opinion. I think it's propaganda, and propaganda can be true. It cannot be true, but thing is, propaganda is always slanted. That's how come we take the information. Okay, any information we get, financial information we get, we gotta check, double check, triple check, and quadruple check. If you're gonna risk your money, you gotta check that shit 100 times before you actually make a trade. You gotta make sure that you know what you're seeing. I would tell that anybody. Okay, before when I used to trade, before I made that trade, I checked that shit at least 50 times. And not just the charts, but also the fundamentals and also the other factors that surrounded the particular trade. I checked all that before I actually made a trade.
system is in trouble, and the recent spike in the silver price has exposed it all. In the West, silver is treated as something you move around on a screen, but not something that actually matters. But it does matter, given that it's going to be required more and more as we create a world deeply integrated with AI, robotics, and other advanced technologies.
Remember, I was telling you that since silver is becoming a strategic metal, okay, where it used to be a monetary metal mostly, now it's increasingly becoming a very strategic metal, that the supply will dwindle. Okay, and the American banking system was open to it for various reasons. I don't think we'll be able to get into all the reasons because there's a whole bunch of other stuff that that's been hanging around since the 90s. A lot of these shorts and ETFs have been hanging around since the 90s. In fact, I lost money on gold is because the paper ETFs talk down the value of gold. Gold was supposed to go up, and the ETFs talked it down. But with social media, ETFs can't talk it down.
And China understands that, even if no one else does. Unlike gold, which is primarily used as a store of wealth, silver's value is driven primarily by industrial use. Treating it first and foremost as a paper asset only works in a world where everyone gets along and everything is smooth, globalized, and stable. But that world did exist, and it was awesome, but it's dead now, and we have to accept that and adapt accordingly. The price of silver used to be set by traders, but now China is showing that the future price is going to be set by those who use and control the physical flow of silver. This is a massive paradigm shift that points towards something far bigger than the price of silver, which I'm going to explain shortly. But for it all to make sense, we have to build the argument one brick at a time. First, you have to understand that the world order is changing rapidly. And if you fail to update your investing strategy accordingly, you are going to get run over. When inflation and stagnant wages force you to invest rather than save your money, you've got to constantly assess changing macro conditions. And the fact that everyone got caught off guard by the silver move shows that there's one massive macro factor that people are blind to: the stable global order that allowed the world to think of investing and economics in terms of financial instruments instead of manufacturing and use cases is beginning to unwind. And
the big fiat unwind is happening. That's what they're trying to. That's what Jamie Dimon and all these people are trying to talk about in Davos. Okay, and that's what they were trying to talk about when all those people got together. That this is unwinding. Okay, the global, the globalist mindset where everybody got along and people could talk it out and negotiate. Okay, that's unwinding. Now, is it because of Biden, because of the neocons, is it because of Trump? Okay, I think it's all mixed in together. But I think it was going to unwind anyway. But the thing is, it's unraveling a lot faster than people thought.
It's putting the dollar at risk. That's why both Dalio and Buffett are sounding the alarm as loudly as they can about America and the state.
And it would be a secret longer if I didn't have a big mouth. Okay, most people still don't know this shit. Okay, most people still don't know it.
Of the dollar. Let's go through it. Here is the uncomfortable question everyone needs to ask, but is largely being ignored. As the economic battle between the U.S. and China reaches a fever pitch over the next few years,
John A.G. is not a guy. Okay, now John A.G. is a group. Okay, John A.G. is not a guy. Okay. In fact, I don't think John A.G. is an independent group. I think John A.G. is I would gather to say is the CCP. Because I was looking at all the little sites, and these sites weren't around a year ago. Okay, the John A.G. sites were not around a year ago. They were not around 2 years ago. These things just popped up over the last, I'd say, 3 or 4 months. So I'd be suspicious. I'm not saying that what John A.G. is not, what he's saying is not true. What I'm saying is the reason behind the stuff popping up is suspicious to me.
How stable is the dollar status as the world's reserve currency? What just happened to silver provides insights into that fundamental question. Here are the facts. On January 1st of 2026, China officially put a new export control regime on silver into effect, requiring government licenses for most shipments out of the country, effectively putting state control over roughly 60 to 70% of the entire world's refined silver supply.
See, in other words, basically, they're doing a reverse Nixon, okay? Which is why they never wanted the yuan to be a reserve currency.
Restricting exports to a small list of approved firms puts everyone in their grip. This sharpened export squeeze collided with an already persistent physical supply deficit, driving silver prices to record highs, approaching nearly $100 per ounce, and igniting volatility because the metal is both a critical industrial input and is now treated as a strategic resource by China. To understand why the silver market is currently in a state of shock, you have to look at the massive disconnect between what people trade on their screens and what actually exists in the real world. For decades, we've treated silver as a financial abstraction, a line on a chart used to hedge against inflation or speculate on price swings. You have to understand this mentality. This led to a level of paper leverage that is almost impossible to wrap your head around and is indicative of how the entire West approaches investing itself. As of early January 2026, the paper to physical silver ratio exploded to an estimated 356.
Now, if that is accurate, that is insane, okay? That is insane. That is more leverage than even the mortgage crisis, okay? The banking crisis of the banking crisis of 2008 was triggered is because of the leverage had gotten to like 33 to 1, okay? 33 to 1, which is 100 times, which is 10 times less than what you see here. This is 10 times worse. Even though we're not talking about mortgages, we're not talking about commercial banks. We might be talking about commercial banks, we don't know. But the thing is, this is why it's critical. 356 to 1, okay? And if the Chinese, since they banked, they had to know this, okay? They had to know the ETFs and the paper and the derivative leverage. And if they knew, it's not that they couldn't do it. The thing is, why are they doing it now? Instead of 15 years ago, 10 years ago, 5 years ago, why now? That's the question that you have to keep in mind. Silver was actually the reason that capitalism, European capitalism, actually started in the 16th century.
To 1. That means for every 1 single ounce of physical silver sitting in a vault in London or New York, there are 356 paper claims,
yes,
futures, options,
yes,
ETFs,
yeah,
claiming ownership on that same ounce.
On the same ounce.
That's insane. How did it happen? People hate it when I say this, but the stock market is really just a sophisticated casino that allows people to bet on things of value.
Exactly, exactly. We've seen this in 2008. It's like some people actually comparing this to 2008, which there is a comparison, but I think it's even more of a comparison to Nixon.
Traders stopped thinking about most things, including silver, as an actual physical asset that is used for something tangible, and instead just started treating the entire world as a purely digital asset. The market got way out over its skis. In a stable, globalized world, this worked. Most traders never actually want the metal. They just want to settle their bets in cash.
True.
Banks and exchanges realized they could sell far more paper silver than they actually held because everyone assumed the supply was.
That goes all the way back to the original banking system with the with the Catholic monks. Okay. When they started the banking system and they used to have the gold banks. I'm trying to remember the name of the monks right now because I'm drawing a blank. Okay. But they had a banking system, and they would deposit inside the bank. They deposit your gold, and you get a chip. And people would take the chip, and instead of trading the gold, they would trade the chips in return for gold. Okay, or instead of gold, right? So guess what? They started doing. They started issuing more chips than they had gold, which is very similar. Which is part of your modern banking system, right? Your reserve system should be between 8 and 12 to 1. I think it's right around 10 right now. Okay, at least I hope it's right around 10, which is a healthy reserve banking system, right? Okay, we're way out over that right now. Anyway, continuing.
Guaranteed, and the global order was stable.
Knights Templar. Thank you.
Ever heard of a bank run? This is the trader equivalent.
Yes.
No one cares what your bank does with your money as long as it's there for you when you need it. So banks lend out way more money than they actually have.
Yes.
It's called fractional reserve banking.
Fractional
and usually
reserve.
it's fine.
Yeah. When within the 10 to 1 range, outside 12 to 1 range, it's fine, right? When it got up to like 30 to 1, that's when you start to see cracks, okay? This is insane. So this is a this is an exploit waiting to happen. It's an exploit waiting to happen. And as long as people were getting along and everybody could see value in it, you know, the Chinese and other people didn't exploit it. But thing is, you know, what they say, do you do unto others and have things done unto you? Okay, we'll probably be talking about this in my Patreon probably this weekend. We actually start really have a conversation. I can't really have a conversation like that in open air. Okay, I really can't. So so that's words to the wise. I'm just giving you guys information. That's why I'm showing you other people's videos instead of saying it myself. Okay, just so that this channel, us in this channel, don't get accused of spreading propaganda.
Most people don't want their money in any one given moment. They want it in the bank earning interest. But in those rare moments, when everyone wants their money at the same time, banks collapse and the perpetual Ponzi scheme is exposed. What just happened with silver is kind of like a bank run. By locking the supply down, China exposed the illusion of silver's guaranteed supply. And now, to paraphrase Buffett, the tide has gone out and we can see that basically everyone is skinny dipping all the time. When China restricted 60 to 70% of the world's refined silver exports, they didn't just create a new method of price discovery, they broke the confidence of the entire silver paper market. If even 1% of those 356 paper owners suddenly decided they actually need the physical metal for their semiconductor factories or solar plants, the entire exchange collapses. There isn't enough silver in the world. There isn't enough silver in the world to satisfy those paper claims. This is why you're seeing the price scream towards $100. It's the sound of the paper market realizing it is holding a bag of ghosts while China holds the actual metal. This brings us back to our central question. The staggering vulnerability of the US dollar. How bad is it?
Yeah, this is what it comes back to, and this is why, in my opinion, that it's being done. I think China could make it worse. In my opinion, I think they're not, is because they don't want the whole system to actually crack.
The silver crisis has revealed a fundamental flaw in the entire American strategy. We act like the dollar status as the world's reserve currency is a law of nature, when in fact, it is an increasingly fragile system based solely on trust.
Yes.
Just as the West treated silver.
And guess what Biden did when he did the when he went in Ukraine and took Russia's money? He violated the what? Trust. Okay? Which opened the gates for this. Okay? That's why Trump said he would never have done it. And I believe Trump would have never done it. I believe Trump would have never have done this. But they had a fundamental belief of overturning the whole tables, okay, much like Nixon did in '71.
As a paper asset that represented a real world asset that would always be available and got insanely overextended via a ratio of 356 paper claims to every actual ounce of physical silver, the US treats the dollar like its status as the world's reserve currency is a permanent guarantee and has gotten itself insanely overextended via debt. When one move by the Chinese highlights that paper backed by nothing is nothing, imagine what happens to the dollar over time as the illusion of paper bets as safe bets permanently vanishes. The dollar is the ultimate paper asset with zero physical backing. It's not backed by anything other than the US government says it's valuable. In no uncertain terms, it is a confidence game. As long as people believe that America will continue to be the most dominant military and economy on planet Earth, you can tax the world via inflation because they're all...
This is what they've been saying. And a lot of your economists, radical economists, been saying in the background for the last 20 years, okay? For the last 20 years, okay? Michael Hudson, who wrote the plan, has been saying it for the last 50.
All going to hold those dollars. But if people realize that America is on shaky economic ground and at $38.5 trillion in debt, it is certainly that, people will increasingly look for alternatives. And that's why the percentage of global commerce settled in dollars has dropped from over 70% in the late 1990s to the high 50s today. Confidence is America's primary export, but that confidence is waning. We print pieces of paper that we call dollars, and in exchange, the rest of the world gives us things like their oil, their electronics, and their silver. But that only works as long as the world believes those pieces of paper will hold their value compared to the actual underlying asset. That confidence has been under direct attack.
I think it's more of the response to, I would say, Venezuela. Okay, if you've been to my Patreon, you've been to my Patreon over the past month. I've kind of explained that.
Attack by China for a while now, and it's starting to work. China is forcing a global pivot away from Western financial abstractions and back towards physical reality. If that forces the world to update their mental model away from paper assets as safe assets and into an obsession with what the paper asset is actually tied to, it will hasten the decline of the dollar. It's not going to happen overnight, but it is going to happen. Right now, the US is already hyper leveraged, carrying the aforementioned $38.5 trillion, and that's just in national debt. It's not to mention corporate and personal debt, which are gigantic in their own rights. That debt forces America to tax the world via inflation, aka money printing. Silver and the crazy
Kevin, if you've been in my Patreon, this is not new to you.
price moves that we just saw show how quickly things can move when people update their mental models away from financialization to actual reality. Remember, we live in a physical world where electrons still rule the day. This is exactly why Ray Dalio is warning about financial heart attacks and why Warren Buffett has retreated to a record $380 billion in his cash pile. They see the end of the paper era and the return of pure power politics. We'll get back to this.
Well, QE was an agreement, and guess who violated QE? Biden violated the QE agreement.
Show in just a second. But first, if you rely on caffeine to get through your day, I want you to listen up. The problem with cash and ready for focus that actually lasts can't hide it, and encrypted apps can't change it. CAPE solves this with identifier rotation. Your before attacks happen. Head to, because for most of the technologies that matter, silver isn't a medical equipment or power electronics. What they say instead is, we're going to pay more to keep the wheels turning. Because for most of the technologies that matter, silver isn't a nice to have, it is a functional requirement. You can't substitute it away quickly. And in many cases, you can't substitute it at all without redesigning entire systems. Got me.
If you guys think this stuff is valuable for me to actually play and do that, because I don't, because I get more engagement with female fuckery. And so that's why I don't play as much of this stuff as I probably should. But if you think it's valuable, please give me a like, okay? Like the video, okay? If you've never been in my channel before, subscribe to the video, okay? Because YouTube does not like me putting this shit out. I can tell you YouTube don't like me putting this shit out. This is the real reason YouTube doesn't like me. The female stuff is secondary.
Means price does not ration demand the way people intuitively expect. Shortages don't destroy demand. They transfer pain from consumers to corporate margins. And that's exactly the kind of setup that breaks paper markets when physical supply gets tight. Now, here's where it gets even more dangerous. Most people assume that if silver prices rise, miners will simply produce more silver. But that assumption is wrong. Roughly 70 to 75% of all silver produced globally is not mined for the silver.
I am Jermaine. Appreciate you. Okay. Yeah. I mean, money's one thing, but the thing is that a light goes a long way. Okay.
Itself. Silver is a byproduct. It's pulled out of the ground incidentally while mining other metals like copper, lead, zinc, and gold. That means the silver supply does not respond cleanly to silver prices. If copper demand is weak, copper miners don't ramp production just because silver is expensive. If zinc or lead projects get delayed, silver supply stalls out right along with them, regardless of silver's price. Now, look at US debt through that same lens. Even if the appetite for US debt goes down and people no longer want to buy it, which the US requires to keep making the interest payments on the debt it has already accumulated, yes, that is more Ponzi-nomics, but it's nonetheless true. And that doesn't mean that the US can just stop making interest payments. Those are going to continue. They are inelastic. And they're
appreciate you. Burrito for the teacher. And I'm going to give me a wet one. Give me a nice wet burrito, man, with pico de gallo on top.
For the US's need to print money will be inelastic if it can't find buyers for its debt. Doesn't matter. They have to keep paying. And anyone paying attention to silver and the slow death of the paper era know that and will seek alternatives, once again hastening the demise of the dollar as the world's reserve currency. Because if you hold an asset that's being inflated through money printing, its value is guaranteed to go down. It just becomes a question of how fast. People
Yes,
mistakenly
true.
assume that because the US prints the world's reserve currency, that we have an infinite get out of jail free card. The logic goes something like, if demand for our debt dries up, we'll just print more money to cover
I don't know about wet tacos, man. Wet tacos are. I like dry tacos and wet burritos.
the shortfall. But in reality, while printing money might bridge the gap in the short term, it makes people flee the dollar that much faster. This is known as the death spiral of confidence. When you print money to pay for your debt, you're effectively diluting the value of every dollar.
And they've been shirking the debt for the for the past 20 years. They've been shirking the debt. 'Cause when in the mid-aughts, okay, the debt was like 4 trillion, man. Now it's 38. How did it get so big?
Already in existence. And investors aren't stupid. As soon as they see the Fed is essentially the only buyer of US treasuries, they realize the safe haven
Chili on a burrito, man. Blasphemy, man. Chili on a hot dog, chili on a burrito, blasphemy.
isn't safe anymore. They will then sell their holdings, which forces interest rates to go high.
Brooklyn's finest, appreciate you. And fried tacos are good. Fried tacos are actually good.
Higher to attract new buyers, and those higher rates then make the interest payments on the already staggering national debt even more impossible to pay. This forces the government then to, you guessed it, print even more money just to keep the lights on, fueling a cycle where more and more dollars are chasing the same amount of goods. And that drives prices up and is exactly how you move from transitory inflation to the kind of runaway double-digit hyperinflation that all throughout history has collapsed empire after empire. Just like with silver, you cannot solve a physical supply problem with a paper solution. Eventually, the math catches up, and it happens with a level of violence that always catches the paper traders completely off guard. Now, if you're tempted to think I'm overstating the problem, consider this. China is already aggressively building alternatives to the US monetary system for this reason, and others. The ECNY, or the digital yuan, is the world's first fully operational central bank digital currency. And the
Yeah, they did that. They made the yuan digital currency when they kicked the Bitcoiners out in, I was going to say 2018.
CIPS payment system that it uses is set to work around the US financial system entirely. They have already processed over 700 trillion CNY in transactions, creating a lane for global trade that doesn't require a single greenback. If the world starts to believe that US paper claims, whether they are silver contracts or dollars, cannot be converted into real value under stress, the confidence game ends. As Ray Dalio has warned, when debt becomes unsustainable and rivals offer an alternative, they move away from it quietly, but systematically and forever. And it's already happening in the US and is likely to accelerate. So, how do you navigate a world where the paper abstractions are melting and physical reality is taking back control of the wheel? You have to develop an anti-fragile strategy that does not have a single point of failure. Most people are currently very fragile because their entire net worth is tied to the continued stability of the US dollar and the paper markets. Given the current breakdown of the global world order, this creates a massive vulnerability and explains why both the Oracle, Buffett, and the architect, Ray Dalio, are modeling new investment strategies that converge on the same point. America and the dollar's role as the world's reserve currency is in trouble. Warren Buffett recently retired as CEO of Berkshire Hathaway, as I'm sure most of you know. He handed the keys to Greg Abel at the start of 26. But before he did that, he made a move that should be a wake-up call for a lot of people. He retreated out of the markets to a record $381 billion cash pile. He spent the last several quarters aggressively selling off foundational American assets like Apple and Bank of America. Why? Because Buffett knows there's trouble in paradise and there's just way too much unpredictability building up in the system. When valuations are stretched the way they are in the market now, and the global order is shifting as rapidly as it is right now, he prefers to maintain optionality. In Buffett's view, having liquid cash during a crisis isn't just safety. It's a weapon that allows you to be, quote unquote, greedy when others are fearful. By being liquid, he doesn't have to predict the future. He can simply react to whatever happens when historically strong bets go on sale. And that's going to happen because everyone else is going to get caught off guard and they're going to panic or go broke from margin calls, bad debt, and or horrible gambles on a market they no longer understand. Ray Dalio, meanwhile, has been studying the last 500 years of the rise and fall of empires, and he spent an insane amount of time personally in China over the last 30 or 40 years. He has seen China's strategies up close, and he knows exactly what they're capable of. And his assessment of the current state of affairs in the US is that we're on the brink of crossing from stage 5 of the big debt cycle, which is marked by the overaccumulation of debt and populist infighting, and moving into stage 6, which is war and total collapse. He has explicitly warned of a potential financial heart attack hitting in or around 2026 as the interest payments on our $38.5 trillion in debt just swallow the entire US budget. His mental model for dealing with all of this is what he calls the all-weather portfolio. He doesn't advise people try to predict exactly when the dollar will fail. Instead, what he says is to build a portfolio that is balanced to thrive whether the economy is growing, in a recession, experiencing high inflation, is dealing with outright war, or just plain catches you off guard. This means holding a highly diverse and uncorrelated mix of shares, gold, and commodities, which are assets that are not someone else's liability. So, if you're going to put all this together and start taking a similar first principles model from these two legends, the path forward is going to look something like this. Step 1, accept that the post-World War II liberal world order, the paper era as I'm calling it.
Yeah, they did. They were actually talking about that at Davos. Dalio said it. Jamie Dimon said it. Is that post the post World War II liberal world order is probably dead. Okay, that's what they were talking about when they were on that panel. Okay, going back to when they're going all the way back to 1920. Right after World War I, when the war was actually handed over to the United States, and then re-emphasized it after World War II. Okay, that's why I played Nixon. Okay, that was the Nixon shock was the attempt to actually keep the world on the dollar, which he did. Okay, but that's over now.
Is dead, or at a minimum dying very fast. Cancel your membership to WEF. Start thinking of the world through the lens of great power politics. There is no more.
Paper is just a representation. Okay, there's no difference between digital and paper. There really isn't. It's still fiat.
Holding hands in kumbaya. This is the big boys going to battle with each other in cyber warfare, economic warfare. Please don't ever let it spill to kinetic, but we certainly have to build up and prepare for it.
You can. BlackRock has nothing to do with making your house cheaper. You can actually get cheaper housing right now. Okay. In fact, if you go to Inside China Business, we actually talked about they can actually build you China can actually build you a 2,200 square foot house for $80,000. Okay. And $20,000, another 20 for them actually assemble it for you wherever you are. So for $100,000, you can get a 2,200 square foot house, which is approximately right now, depending on where you are, would be about $400,000 or $500,000 in today's money. Okay, right now, if you want to buy a tiny house, which is a guy just put up, you can actually go to Home Depot. And they import Chinese tiny homes, and with a little assembly, I think the guy, he bought it for $20,000, and he put another 20 in it. So for $40,000, he got, I think the small home was like 300 square feet. So for like $30,000, he got a very nice small home. Okay, if we get into, hopefully we get into the Tesla homes, which are Tesla tiny homes, which is like under 10,000. That would rectify home prices. Okay. Yeah, you can do it in America. They're shipping. Yeah, there was a custom house also. That's true.
Understand that the physical world matters a lot, especially as we gear up for potential kinetic conflict, and that our days of 356 to 1 paper claims to the actual underlying asset, those days are over. Not just for silver, for everything. Step 2, don't pull out of the market in a panic, But recognize, despite the instability and impossibility of predicting, you can't just save your way to prosperity. In a world locked in fiscal dominance, which we are, where the debt drives monetary policy, and you know there's going to be money printing, cash in a savings account is not a safe haven. It is a melting ice cube. Every day you hold on to it, you are losing purchasing power to the invisible tax of inflation. Now, you need enough cash for, call it 6 to 12 months of survival, enough to remain emotionally sober in the markets. But everything beyond that is exposure to a system designed to devalue your labor. Step 3, shift from financial instruments to productive assets. You want to own things that have pricing power, businesses or resources like silver that people have to buy no matter how high the price goes. In a physical world, the factories don't stop because the price of silver hits $100. They just pay the premium. Owning the functional requirements of the future is one of the best ways to ensure your wealth moves with or ahead of the rate of money printing. Step 4, diversify across economic forces. True diversification isn't owning 10 different tech stocks. That's just 10 different ways to bet on the same paper outcome. It's owning assets that react differently to the same stress. When the dollar is under attack, you want exposure also to hard money and physical commodities, assets that are not someone else's liability. You need a portfolio that can breathe when the credit markets are suffocating. Step 5, don't try to predict the future. Preserve your optionality. You need to be invested. In a world of inflation, that's a non-negotiable. But consider the duration, liquidity, and counterparty risk. The future is guaranteed to surprise us all in some pleasant and deeply unpleasant ways. Understand the macro and throw your punches only when opportunities present themselves.
Ray knows that you can always change the way, government can always change the way they actually do things, okay? They can actually change the way they do things, and they can actually change the way they regulate things, okay? They if they want to do it, and guess what? Okay, y'all act like there's some god on Mount Olympus that dictates what you do. Okay, y'all can actually change the way the laws actually work. Stop acting like you're helpless. Now you don't have to rent tiny homes. You can with the amount of money and leverage that Tesla and people have, you can have what do they call them, camps? Okay, not camps. What is it? Tiny home parks. You can do that. You don't need $200,000. $200K that kills the whole reason to have it. Okay, you don't need $200K. You don't need $200K for land. It depends on where you are. You don't even need that in California. You can change the regulation. And coding and inspection, if it's a pre-built house, you don't need coding and inspection. It's because it's pre-built. Okay, it comes over pre-inspected.
The goal isn't to win an individual trade. The goal is to survive the disorder that is increasingly coming so that you are in a position to thrive when the new order emerges. China has updated its mental model. Buffett and Dalio have constantly updated theirs. If you're still clinging to the paper era rules, you're making yourself the most fragile person in the room. In every moment of disruption like this, there's tremendous opportunity. Just make sure you're poised to capitalize on it. All right, if you want to see me explore more topics like this that have direct impact on your life, make sure that you subscribe right now. All right, my friends, until the next one, be legendary. Take care. Peace.
If you like this
all right. We're almost at an hour. We're doing good, okay? The thing is, I understand you guys think that you're powerless, okay? I want you guys to stop acting like you're powerless. I really do. Because just like they changed, remember they changed the rules for COVID within weeks. It didn't take them that long. They changed the rules for COVID. They can change it. They can change it for homelessness and tiny homes. Don't take that long. I said there's one more I wanted to play. Where is it? Where is it? Where is it? Dr. Dunbar says, so Master Teacher, it doesn't sound like we'll be running around with spears and face paint just yet. No, it'll probably be running around with mask and body armor and with your personal drones. Okay. That's what it sounds like. Let's see. Where are we? Where are we? I'm looking for John. I thought I had him. Maybe I did not. That's Tom. Mr. Nixon shock. Just had him. I just had John AG. We're almost at an hour anyway, so it doesn't matter. Yeah, we got okay. There's one. Is that the one? Yeah, I think that might be the one. I think there's another one that I preferred. Okay. Short positions. Metals moved. Okay. Okay, I think it's this one. You got a lot of these floating around, so. But BGS tries every day to convince Superman that he's not Clark Kent. Salute. You ain't shit, ninja person. I'm not looking forward towards the purge. Well, nobody is, okay? You're young, man. I'm old. You know I'm not looking for that shit. So the only thing is I have less to lose than you do. So I'm not, hell, I'm not even gonna try. Shit, fuck all that. Fuck suffering. Land cost isn't ever gonna go away. What are they selling burnt lots for? You got plenty of land, man. Got plenty of land. It doesn't take that much to put a whole bunch of tiny homes on. Got plenty of land. There's tons of land. You got way more land in the United States. You got people on it. Okay? Got plenty of land. Pawn shop in my area sells 1 ounce of 10K gold chains for 2K. Should I buy it? No, I would say no. I would say no. What is gold? $5,000 an ounce? Okay. I would say no. That's too much of a premium. Double the premium, I would say no. Unless you just like gold chains. It's jewelry.
Paper than physically existed in their vaults. When France demanded delivery, the illusion shattered. The price of gold doubled within months. Bretton Woods, the system that governed global finance for 25 years, was dead within 3 years. That was gold in 1968. Today, it's silver.
Take some of that money, fly to China, or fly to Hong Kong, or fly to Vietnam, and buy your gold chain there for cheaper, and get your free trip.
2026, and right now, the exact same pattern is unfolding. This wasn't luck. This wasn't a coincidence. In 1997, economist Hyman Minsky identified a 5-stage pattern that appears before every major liquidity crisis in commodity markets. He called it the Ponzi finance progression, where the gap between paper claims and
we don't know what the new order is yet. It's because it's still being built. We have no clue.
Physical reality becomes mathematically unsustainable. Let me show you how it works. Stage 1, fractional claims emerge. The market begins issuing paper contracts, futures, ETFs, certificates that represent physical commodities. Initially, the ratio stays reasonable, maybe 5 paper claims for every 1 physical ounce. Markets function normally.
Yeah.
Stage 2, confidence replaces reality. As years pass without delivery problems, market participants stop checking if physical inventory exists. Paper becomes accepted as equivalent to physical. The ratio expands to 21, then 51, then higher.
That's what happened with the mortgage crisis, okay?
Nobody notices because nobody's demanding delivery. Stage 3, a dominant player accumulates physical.
Hey, Maestro, what's up, man? What you got new? If you got something new, man, post it in the chat. Because I always look for your notifications, but I'm not getting them. So, if you got something new, please post it in the chat.
While Western investors trade paper, one entity quietly accumulates the actual commodity. They don't announce it. They don't brag about it. They just buy, ship, and store. Physical supply drains from public markets into private vaults. Stage 4, the supply shock. The dominant player either restricts exports or demands delivery on their own paper contracts.
Okay.
Suddenly, everyone realizes the same truth simultaneously. There isn't enough physical commodity to satisfy all the paper claims. Panic begins. Stage 5, the cascade. As price spikes, more holders demand physical delivery. Premiums for physical metal explode above paper prices. Futures markets enter backwardation, where immediate delivery costs more than future delivery, inverting normal market logic. Institutions holding paper exposure face margin calls. The system breaks. The pattern is mathematical, it's predictable, and it's happened 3 times in modern history with devastating consequences. History doesn't repeat, but it rhymes with precision. In 1961, 8 central banks formed the London Gold Pool to maintain gold at $35 per ounce. They sold paper certificates backed by pooled gold reserves. The initial ratio was conservative, roughly 4 paper dollars to 1 physical ounce of gold backing. By 1965, confidence was absolute. Commercial banks issued gold certificates freely. The ratio expanded to 12.1, then 18.1. American investors held gold through paper claims, trusting the system completely. Between 1965 and 1967, France under Charles de Gaulle converted $750 million in paper dollars.
That was the run. That was the run that almost got Charles de Gaulle killed. Okay. By the jackal. And also what later on caused Nixon to end convertibility.
Into physical gold and shipped it from New York to Paris. Meanwhile, the Soviet Union quietly accumulated gold from newly discovered Siberian mines. In March 1968, France demanded immediate delivery of another $500 million in gold. The London Gold Pool attempted to satisfy demand and couldn't. On March 15th, gold trading was suspended. They literally ran out. When markets reopened, the 2-tier gold price system emerged. Official gold remained at 35s, but only for central banks. Free market gold immediately jumped to $44, a 26% premium for physical.
Yep, you're seeing that with silver right now, right?
By 1971, gold hit $70. By 1980, it reached $850, a 2,400% increase from the fixed price. The Bretton Woods system collapsed. The dollar's convertibility to gold ended on August 15th, 1971. Global monetary order fundamentally restructured. But it didn't stop there. Throughout the 1970s, futures markets for silver operated smoothly. The paper-to-physical ratio was roughly 10.1, manageable and liquid. By 1978, confidence in paper silver was total. Investors held futures contracts, trusting delivery was available if needed. Most never intended to take delivery anyway. Between 1973 and 1979, Nelson Bunker Hunt and William Herbert Hunt accumulated 200 million ounces of physical silver, approximately half the world's deliverable supply. They did it quietly through offshore entities, taking delivery from futures contracts. In late 1979, the Hunt brothers began demanding delivery on futures contracts they'd purchased. COMEX, the commodity exchange, realized they had a problem. There wasn't enough physical silver in their warehouses to satisfy contracts. On January 7th, 1980, COMEX changed the rules mid-game, restricting futures purchases to liquidation only. Silver prices, which had been $6 per ounce in January 1979, hit $49.45 per ounce by January 18th, 1980, a 723% increase in 12 months.
That's where you got a cornering of the silver market, right? A run on the silver.
But the spike exposed the problem. Physical silver traded at premiums of 20 to 40% above futures prices. When COMEX and the Federal Reserve forced the Hunts to liquidate, silver crashed to $10 within 3 months. Small investors holding paper contracts were destroyed. Those who'd taken physical delivery survived. According to Federal Reserve archives, 15 brokerage firms faced insolvency. Futures market integrity was permanently questioned. Congress held hearings. But the underlying pattern, fractional physical backing of paper claims, remained unchanged. The pattern appeared again in 2011. Following the 2008 financial crisis, silver ETFs proliferated. The largest, SLV, claimed to hold physical silver backing every share. The ratio of paper claims to physical delivery capacity expanded to roughly 100 across the entire silver market.
If you think this is valuable, please hit the like button, okay?
By 2010, investors treated silver ETFs as...
Trust and believe, YouTube doesn't like me doing this. In fact, Asian guy John's had 3 channels taken already within a matter of weeks.
Equivalent to physical metal. Billions flowed into paper silver instruments. According to CPM Group, a precious metals research firm, paper silver outstanding exceeded 1.4 billion ounces, while immediately deliverable. Physical inventory was approximately 140 million ounces. Between 2009 and 2011, China's silver imports surged from 3,500 metric tons to 6,500 metric tons annually. They weren't buying futures. They were demanding physical delivery and shipping it to Shanghai vaults. In April 2011, the Commodity Futures Trading Commission revealed that one entity, later identified as JP Chase, held a concentrated short position representing 25% of the entire silver market. When prices began rising and margin calls hit, the bank faced potential delivery obligations it couldn't physically satisfy. Silver spiked from $18 per ounce in August 2010 to $48.70 on April 28, 2011, a 170% gain in 8 months. COMEX raised margin requirements 5 times in 8 days, forcing liquidation of speculative positions. Physical silver premiums hit 30% above spot prices. The paper market convulsed. Silver crashed to $26 within 5 weeks. A class action lawsuit later revealed systematic manipulation. JP paid $920 million in fines to settle charges of spoofing and manipulation between 2008 and 2016. But again, the fractional reserve system in commodity markets remained intact until now. Because what's happening with China and silver in 2025 isn't just another cycle, it's the pattern reaching its mathematical conclusion. Now here's where it gets disturbing. Every single stage of this pattern is present today, and it's accelerating faster than any previous cycle. The silver market has operated on fractional reserves for decades. According to the Silver Institute's 2024 World Silver Survey, paper silver claims, futures, ETFs, unallocated accounts, and certificates represent approximately 356 ounces of paper claims for every 1 ounce of physical silver available for immediate.
And you just heard Tom Bilyeu, who's not Chinese, say the exact same thing, okay? That's why you always check and make sure that you have verification when somebody says something. Like you don't take their expertise or their opinion at face value, okay? Tom Bilyeu just told you the exact same thing that Asian guy John is telling you. Even though I think Asian guy John is CCP, my opinion, okay? But thing is he giving you accurate information? Because the underlying problem is there, you're just not aware of it.
Delivery. That's not 10.1 like gold in 1968, not 100.1 like silver in 2011. It's 356.1, the most extreme fractional reserve in commodity market history. Confidence in paper silver has been absolute. Until December 2024, investors poured money into silver ETFs and futures without questioning physical backing.
Asian guy John is not American, okay? Asian guy John is they're not telling you who he exactly is, but I have a pretty good idea who they are.
The largest silver ETF, iShares Silver Trust, holds $15 billion in stated assets. Western investors treat it like cash, liquid, reliable, equivalent to owning metal. Nobody demanded delivery. Nobody checked the vaults. Paper was reality. China has been the dominant physical accumulator. Here are the numbers. Okay. Between 2020...
Bro, if you don't want to be here, okay? If you don't want to be here, you don't like what I'm saying, you can leave, okay? You can leave. Don't be here. If you don't like what I'm saying, don't be here.
In 2024, China
YouTube's got 1 billion channels. Why are you here?
Imported 34,000 metric tons of refined silver while producing another 18,000 metric tons domestically. That's 52,000 metric tons, approximately 1.67 billion ounces, flowing into Chinese vaults over 5 years. But it gets more specific. According to Chinese customs data analyzed by Metals Focus, in 2024 alone, China imported 7,800.
Thanos was right. Basically, you let the market take you out. You don't take yourself out. Let the market take you out. Unless you have a lot of people that are cashing in because they need the money. If you need the money, man, cash it in. But things don't. Let the market take you out. Don't take yourself out.
100 metric tons of silver. That's 250 million ounces in 1 year. Meanwhile, COMEX deliverable silver inventory in December 2024 stood at 271 million
I'm talking to you.
The parallels are mathematical.
Okay.
China now controls an estimate.
Motherfucker, I'm talking to you. If you don't like what the fuck I'm saying, get the fuck off my goddamn channel. Okay? I'm trying to inform people that want to be informed. If you don't like it, get the fuck off my channel. That means you don't know what the fuck you're talking about.
It's 60 to 70% of the world's refined silver supply chain. Mining, refining, and storage. Just like France accumulated gold before 1968. Just like the Hunt brothers accumulated silver before 1980. Just like China accumulated physical before 2011. Except this time, it's not individuals or a single country. It's the world's second largest economy executing a strategic resource capture. On December 1st, 2024, China's Ministry of Commerce announced new export controls on silver. Any shipment of refined silver now requires a government-issued license. No license, no export. The announcement was buried in routine policy updates. Western media barely covered it. The supply shock began immediately. According to Bloomberg data, physical silver premiums in Asia jumped to $2.50 per ounce above London spot prices within 2 weeks, a 7% premium. By January 2025, that premium hit $4.20 per ounce in some Asian markets. Right now, as I'm recording this, silver has spiked from $29.50 per ounce in November 2024 to over $34 per ounce, a 15% gain in 8 weeks. But here's what's truly disturbing. The premiums for physical silver coins and bars in the United States are running 25 to 35% above spot prices. You can buy paper silver at $34. Physical silver? You're paying $42 to $46 if you can find it. The same signals that preceded the 1968 gold crisis, the 1980 silver corner, and the 2011 silver spike are all present simultaneously. The cascade hasn't started yet, but the trigger is armed. If China restricts licenses significantly, or if Western investors suddenly demand physical delivery en masse, the paper silver market will face the same reality the London gold pool faced in 1968. There isn't enough physical metal to satisfy claims. Here's the vulnerability. According to the World Silver Survey, global industrial demand for silver in 2024 was 654 million ounces. Solar panels, electronics, AI chips, and electric vehicles consume silver as an irreplaceable input. That demand is inelastic. Factories can't function without it. Meanwhile, 75% of silver supply comes as a byproduct of copper, lead, and zinc mining. You can't just produce more silver when prices spike. Supply is inelastic in the short term. Inelastic demand meets inelastic supply during a supply shock, the formula for a price explosion. But there's a deeper pattern here that connects this directly to the US dollar. Silver is the warning shot for a much larger crisis, because the same fractional reserve illusion that governs paper silver also governs the US dollar itself. Think about it. The dollar's status as the world's reserve currency rests on confidence, the belief that it will hold value, that US debt is sustainable, that the system is stable. But here's what the numbers show. US federal debt is $35 trillion. According to the Congressional Budget Office's 2024 projections, debt will reach $54 trillion by 2034 under current policies. That's a 54% increase in 10 years. The US government is running deficits of $1.8 trillion annually. Interest payments on the debt alone exceeded $1.1 trillion in fiscal year 2024. More
That's not even including the trade imbalance, okay? That's just debt. It's not including trade imbalance, which is also debt. They don't even talk about the trade imbalance.
Than the defense budget. This is inelastic demand for borrowed money. The government can't cut spending fast enough to matter without triggering immediate economic contraction. So it prints, it borrows, it rolls over debt. Just like paper silver claims, expanding beyond physical backing, dollar claims are expanding beyond economic reality. And China sees this. That's why they're not just controlling silver. They're building alternatives to dollar dominance. The digital yuan, or ECNY, processed over $7 trillion in transactions in 2024. The SEPA payment system, China's alternative to SWIFT, now connects to 1,300.
See, and this is all unleashed by the Ukraine crisis, which is something I told you guys back in 2022. Remember I was telling you, some of that stuff I actually erased, okay, deleted, because I had one of my military advisors tell me not to put that out that soon, but the thing is I was trying to tell you that in 2022, okay, that this is the outcome that I feared. And instead of them correcting and pulling back, they doubled down, and this is where we are.
100 of financial institutions in 107 countries. When confidence breaks, it breaks suddenly. The people who were destroyed in 1968 weren't stupid. They trusted the system. The investors who lost fortunes in 1980 weren't reckless. They believed paper claims were as good as physical delivery. The institutions that collapsed in 2011 weren't incompetent. They assumed the fractional reserve system would hold. Nobody warned them. Nobody will warn you either. Here's the timeline. Between 2025 and 2027, watch for 3 signals. Signal 1, China expands export controls to other critical materials, rare earths, gallium, germanium. They've already restricted gallium and germanium exports in 2023. Silver is next level because of its dual role in industry and as a monetary metal. Signal 2, physical metal premiums stay elevated above 20% for more than 6 months. That indicates sustained shortage, not temporary disruption. We're at 2 months currently. Signal 3, a major financial institution, or ETF, admits they cannot satisfy physical delivery requests, or changes their prospectus to limit redemptions in physical form. When that happens, confidence breaks. The cascade begins. If all 3 signals appear by mid-2027, expect silver to reach $60, $80 per ounce as industrial users panic buy to secure supply. More importantly, expect questions about dollar stability to move from fringe commentary to mainstream financial media. This isn't about silver, it's about what silver reveals. The fragility of confidence-based systems when physical reality reasserts itself. The strategy isn't to predict the exact timing. That's impossible. The strategy is anti-fragility. Ray Dalio calls it all-weather portfolio construction. Warren Buffett calls it staying liquid when others panic. The principle is the same. Own productive assets.
In other words, this is an old video. He expected the sign to be in 2027, and guess what? We're here already, okay? We've shot past that $80 goal, the $80 cap.
Not just financial claims. Diversify across economic forces, not just asset classes. Here's what that means practically. If you own silver ETFs, understand that you own paper claims in a fractional reserve system. If you want exposure to silver, consider the premium you'll pay for physical delivery now versus the premium you'll pay during a supply shock. If you're invested in the dollar's long-term stability, understand that the same pattern threatening paper, silver threatens dollar confidence. History never asks permission. It just repeats. The 5-stage pattern is complete in silver. 4 of 5 stages are visible in dollar confidence. China has made its move. The mathematical reality that paper claims exceed physical supply is undeniable. What's next isn't a mystery, it's a pattern. And patterns, once set in motion, follow their course. The question isn't whether the cascade happens. The question is whether you're positioned for the reality on the other side, where physical assets, productive capacity, and strategic resources matter more than paper claims and confidence games. Right now, most investors are unprepared. Most institutions are exposed. Most of the financial system operates as if paper and physical are equivalent. They're not. They never were. China just proved it. And nobody's ready for what happens when the rest of the market figures that out.
As we are not, okay? As we're not. And that you can take it for what it's worth. Like I said, do your own research. Do your own research, okay? Uh, uh, how much time we got? We don't have that much time. If we weren't over an hour, I'd show you a few charts. Okay. Go look at your dollar chart. Your dollar just gapped down like a couple days ago. So your dollar is in decline, especially after Trump's putting his member on the table last week at Davos. Okay, it looks like Europeans are actually voicing their opinion because the euro and the pound are up. So that means they're releasing dollar claims. So we have to see what happens. So I'm not going to show charts today. Okay, not today. I might do it at the beginning tomorrow, or I might do it later on when I get on the what you call it, on my master teachers. I might show a couple of charts there. Okay, but man, charts are dry, and most people don't like charts. Okay, when I say I'm going to do a chart day, I may get 120 people to watch me doing charts. So it's not one of the most popular things to do. Yeah, well, you know what? Basically, if Trump is telling Europe Europe, Davos and the people with money in Europe say we don't like you, and Trump says fuck you. So it is what it is, right? I work in city government, and the way they are getting those data centers approved, built is insane. Yeah, it is. They're on a fast track. Okay. It would, yeah, because everybody wants money. They can fast track things a lot quicker if they want to. The thing is, the banks are involved. The city wants their money. Yada yada yada. They want to control how much space is built. There's a whole lot of shit that goes into building of structures. Okay, beyond whether they're clean and safe. There's a whole lot of control over that. It's because money's involved. And your investors are involved. They don't want you to. In fact, just in Los Angeles alone, right? You got 48,000 homeless people, and you got 98,000 empty units. You can house. There's plenty of housing already. Most of the housing out there, most of the buildings out there, are empty. Okay, you have all this commercial property that's empty. There's plenty of places to put people, but it's empty. It's because they're protecting the banks over the people, and the people are too dumb, or I'm gonna say too dumb. They're too clueless to actually get in there and actually advocate for themselves. But one day they will. One day they will. I think 2026 is going to be the year that people will wake up and start advocating for themselves. But that's all I got. Like I said, if you think this is valuable, okay, whether you donate $1 or not, please hit the like button. If you're not subscribed, please subscribe, okay? And I will say this, okay? I don't mind people making comments, okay? But the information that I'm presenting is not for you, okay? And you don't like it, then please go someplace else, okay? One comment is fine. If you don't like what I'm saying, and if you don't rock with the information I'm putting out, and I take no offense with you going someplace else, okay? I don't want anybody here that doesn't want to be here. I said that from the very beginning. When I first put this channel up, I expected no more than 500 people to actually subscribe to me. I got 50,000, almost 50,000 people, okay? Which is 10 times the number. If you want to leave, you can leave, okay? If you don't like what I'm saying, YouTube has restricted me over the past 10 years. They've been taking subs from me, a third of my subs every month for the past 10 years, okay? Even when I had like 1,000 people, they were taking like 300, okay? So if you don't want to be here, you don't like what I'm saying, hey, you know what? Like that brother, y'all ain't got no money. What are you guys talking about? Dude, if you don't have no money and that's what you believe, why are you listening to something about banking and silver? That doesn't apply to you. It doesn't apply to you. It's not about investing. It doesn't apply to you. And if you don't like it, hey, make yourself scarce. Don't subscribe. Man, don't. I would say don't subscribe to me. Okay. Don't subscribe to me. Because you have no idea what the fuck I'm talking about. Even if you ain't got no money, okay. This is if your banks go under, guess what's gonna happen to your ass, okay? Don't. The thing is, you have no. What you said had nothing to do with what we were talking about. That's why I answered the question. What you said had nothing to do with what I was talking about. Okay. In fact, uh, your level of intellect, uh, you don't even belong on this channel with your level of intellect. Go someplace else, man. Go over to the ghetto side of YouTube. All right. Pedestrian annoyance, tax, winter soldier chip, removal, and jamming fee. Yeah. Anyway, let me get out of here. Cali ADUs have been fast tracked for permits. They're gonna have to do something, and something that that my local people here, because I'm in LA, and there's some local homeless advocates that mentioned that. That's where I found out that there's way more units than there are homeless people, right? So the politicians don't want to be embarrassed with that knowledge, okay? So they're fast tracking stuff to actually get people housed, which you're gonna have 3 times the amount of housing than you have people, which makes no sense. Houses are supposed to house people, not be investments for foreigners or what is it? Hedge funds. That's what I believe. Okay, if your financial system goes under, it doesn't matter whether you have money or not. Okay, or you have a lot of money or not, because if your financial system cracks, that means everything that you get to even to eat is going to be higher, more expensive. Okay. The thing is, your fundamental economic system is at stake. It doesn't matter whether you invested or not. The thing is, y'all have to get involved, man. I'm trying to say to especially millennials and and Gen Zs, y'all got to get involved, man. Y'all can't sit back and let them tell you and tell you and zone you out. Y'all have to get involved with the process, okay? There's no way that all these people. There's no way you should not be able to afford a house with all the materials and all the money that's in the United States. Because China can actually build your house for 10 grand. There's no way that you should be homeless. Okay, uh, uh, Musk can build your house for like 10 grand. There's no way you should be homeless. But y'all have to get out and advocate for that, because because the banks are going to actually advocate for themselves. Okay, the banks don't want you to have a lot of housing. It's because it will actually ruin their balance sheet. That's why y'all have to get out there and advocate for yourself. I think about a ratio of 1 to 1 of the dollar turning to 5,000 to 1 ratio. That's just, yeah. Well, you wouldn't have a country if the dollar got 5,000 to 1. American people are not used to that kind of suffering. Okay, America would break up into pieces. Okay, it will polarize. Okay, and you already got a bunch of states ready to break up. The stuff that's going on in Minnesota is just cracks. Okay. You got about 6 northern states that want to separate from the United States. And you got about 4 southern states that actually want to separate from the United States. So basically, if the United States banking system and financial system goes under, you're going to see cracks, and you're going to see the United States cease to exist as it is. Okay, that's what's going to happen, and everybody knows it. Yeah, let me get out of here, y'all, before VHS probably needs a drink right about now. All right, good people. Let me give you Kobe.
What can I say? Mamba out.
Let's see where we are. Dear Mama. There he is.